Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Parenting Reframe podcast. I am so excited to be here today. It's going to be another solo episode, and this is going to be the last episode before 2024. So if you're in 2023, I want to start off by saying I hope this has been an amazing year for you. I know certainly I've had so many wonderful moments and things to celebrate, and certainly moments that felt hard, but I do think we should always take the time to celebrate and look at those too. That's what sort of makes this whole experience worth it. So if you're a parent right now who's really struggling or in the throes of a phase of parenting that feels extra challenging, I promise you it will be in your rearview mirror at one point, and you will look back at it with a completely different perspective. So just keep that in mind sometimes when it feels like there is just no end in sight or you can't see that light at the end of the tunnel. So for today's episode, I am going to talk all about coaching. I get so many questions, so many DMs, so many messages on TikTok and on Instagram and in my email inbox about coaching, what coaching entails. Just for context, if you ever wanted to dive deeper, I always offer free 20-minute consult calls to see if coaching is right for you. I don't think it's a fair thing to just sign up for something that you don't fully, completely understand. I also think it's important for me to know if I'm the right person to help you. There are times that I will do a call with somebody and I'll say, okay, I really understand what you're going through. And I know this feels like a lot, but I'm going to point you in a different direction because I don't know that I'm your answer. So it gives me a little bit of insight and some more knowledge in terms of what it is that you might be experiencing. And really my goal is to help you in the best way possible. And sometimes that's not me. So I'm always very honest and transparent about that too. So that's really the point of the discovery call. So as you're listening to this information today, as you're taking it in, if you ever kind of feel called to like, you know what, I'd love to talk to her a little bit about my specific situation, or I'd love to talk to Albiona about some of the struggles that I'm going through at home right now and just kind of be able to see like, is this something that would really help me? I can give you a much more personalized answer, but for the purposes of the podcast today, I'm going to give more general information regarding coaching and some of the things you can expect if you decide you want to go that route. I'm also going to talk about some new offers that I have coming up in 2024. So let's jump into it. So I kind of call myself an accidental parenting coach. I didn't really plan ever on coaching. I really started off as a writer and I still write, and I'm in the process of putting the finishing touches on my book proposal, and I'm willing it and putting it into the universe that I get published, or I get a publisher to accept my book in 2024. So I'm very hopeful about that. And I'll share more details about the book in the coming months. But for now, just know that really my heart has always been on writing and communicating to families through writing and people, really. So when I started to get asked if I would coach families or talk to families or work with people one-on-one, at first I was slightly resistant. I actually said no the first few times and just said, no, you know what, I actually just write. So keep reading my articles. I'm so glad they're resonating. I hope you're finding them helpful. And I just kind of left it at that. And then I was talking to a close friend and she said to me, you know, we come to you all the time for advice and you always help us and you always guide us. And I can't imagine what my parenting experience would have been like had you said to me, no, I'm not going to help, or I'm not going to tell you. If there are people out there who really want your support, why are you saying no? Why are you turning that away? So kind of with that, I leaned into it and I decided that I would start to take one-on-one clients. And from there, it really grew. So I started to make videos because I started to realize that also coaching might not be a feasible option for some people, depending on time commitments, finances, or a lot of different reasons why it would or wouldn't work. So I wanted to maybe kind of think about how are different ways I could connect and expand that reach in a way that feels more affordable or more accessible. So hence the podcast that will always be free. I never plan on putting anything really behind a paywall. Same thing with my newsletter. That will always be free. In fact, if you're not already, make sure to subscribe to my Substack because I do separate video content on Substack that is not on TikTok or Instagram. I dive a little deeper. I take a little bit longer in terms of the details that I'm explaining. So if what I'm saying resonates with you on Instagram and on TikTok, certainly consider subscribing to the Substack. Again, it's not behind a paywall. I'm really trying to balance out what I can give people freely and what would kind of remain a paid for service. So back to coaching. I've been working with families one-on-one. I do it over a 2-month period. And that's the case now. I want to just state that this is at the moment in December of 2023. This is what it looks like. It could always change. I'm always taking feedback from families that I work with, but for now I find that to be sort of the sweet spot. So we work together over a 2-month period. It includes 5 1-hour calls over Zoom. So essentially what I started to find is that most families found it very difficult to commit to a weekly call, and they really wanted time to implement the strategies that we were talking about and some of those mindset shifts that we were working on. So ideally, we try to set up calls so that they're every other week. So it gives you enough time in between calls to really practice some of the things that we're talking about. And because of the every other week, you have full texting access to me during those 2 weeks and 3 weeks in between, or whatever it looks like. So for the entire 2 months, you can message me in real time. You can leave me voice messages in real time, and I can voice message you back. I can send you quick little videos if need be. There are a lot of ways I try to keep in contact with you, because I think what's really important is that you have access to me in real time. The calls are very helpful, but so is maximizing and optimizing that texting access piece, because you can describe to me like, hey, this is what happened this morning. I did the things that we talked about, but this is where I think it went wrong. What could I do differently? Or should I keep doing it? I can kind of walk you through it and really support you. I mean, that's really what you're paying for. You are paying for somebody for the next 2 months to be in your corner and to be fully supporting you and walking you through that process. So utilize that. I really love it when people send me messages, because I want to be able to help you in real time. It should feel very hands-on. You should feel very held in the process. Sometimes I'll have people just send me a long voice message just describing how overwhelmed they are and how they just feel so exhausted at the end of the day, and they just feel defeated. And sometimes just being able to say that and knowing that there is somebody there holding space for you is all that you really need. It's amazing. Sometimes the voice message will end with, I already feel better and I haven't even heard back from you. And I'll start to laugh, because I think so often we don't give ourselves that opportunity and that space to just be able to say the way we're truly feeling. With that, I always tell families that I'm coaching, it's a completely judgment-free zone. I never, ever want my families to feel like they have to hold back or not be able to say the thing that they actually really need to say. It's a safe space. I in no way am judging you. In fact, I always kind of start off by saying, if you're somebody who is saying, I'm going to commit the time, the resources, and my energy to coaching, I already know you're a fantastic parent, because that's a lot of commitment on your end. And you're certainly doing that for a lot of great reasons. And one of which is to really help your kiddos thrive and grow and become the best versions of themselves. And, it's important that you feel that and that that I'm never looking at you with any kind of a skewed perspective or anything of that sort. I often have parents kind of start a call feeling slightly apologetic and saying things like, I know everything that's wrong is my fault. And there's a lot of self-blame. So I try to reframe that almost right out of the gates for you. There is not anything beneficial in looking at a challenge and saying, this is all my fault, right? When we stay in that space, think of like what that does to your energy when that challenge arises again. You're almost at a deficit. You're fighting at it from like a negative place instead of looking at it and going, okay, what are the things I really need here? What is this really showing me? What are those parenting triggers that keep coming up for me? And those are the things that we really unpack together. And once we kind of unpack a little bit of those root causes, then we're going to look at like, what strategies are we going to put in place? Because ideally, and I've said this before, what I try to help parents most with is like, how do we move from a reactive place to a responsive place? How do we connect and meet our kids' needs while also simultaneously working on ourselves, growing ourselves in that process? This includes reparenting tools. This includes mindfulness. This includes things that might not be in a parenting book with step-by-step plans of how to really address a challenging behavior like tantrums, let's say, or hitting. It certainly needs to be addressed. And I do give families prescriptive plans of how to work through that. But at the same time, we can't abandon our own selves in that process and simply look for external solutions. So it really is meant to be a comprehensive approach to parenting in terms of reparenting the parts of yourself that really need it, and also looking at what are my children's behaviors really communicating to me, and what are the needs that they're showing me, and how can I make sure to really show up as my best sort of most whole version of myself. And there's a lot to parenting right now. It's a very noisy space. There are a lot of expectations we place on ourselves. There are a lot of societal and cultural norms depending on the family you grew up in and the culture you live in, or the neighborhood you live in, right? There are just so many different external factors and variables that play a role in the way we show up as parents. And sometimes dismantling a little bit of that and really kind of interrogating those expectations and really looking at them through a lens of neutrality and really just objectivity, and just being able to say, like, what's going on here, and how can I really ground myself so that I can make the best choices for my child and for myself and my family and whatever those needs look like. And it's very different for every household and every family. And that's part of what I love about coaching, is it really allows me to get in there and help you in a more personal way, instead of just kind of giving you a step-by-step behavior plan and calling it a day. That's not really, where I shine. I have a lot of tips and tricks and ways to help you, but I think where my kind of special sauce is I'm really able to help a parent move from feeling triggered and reactive and snapping and yelling and overwhelmed and burnt out to much more grounded and responsive and thoughtful, and giving them the space to really reflect on what's coming up for them, while simultaneously putting an action plan in place that meets your child's needs. Because the biggest thing in parenting is when we don't know what to do, we start to throw kind of spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks, if you will. And in doing so, that process becomes really exhausting, particularly if you have a strong-willed child. You know that often leads, or backfires, I should say, to some extent, and it just leaves you feeling completely defeated and lost. So I think where it can really help is if you find yourself kind of in that place of like, I've tried everything, I've said everything, I've done it calmly, I've yelled, I've given consequences, I've taken things away, I've given incentives, I've tried this approach and that approach, and nothing seems to work. Certainly that would be a good person to reach out, because I can certainly help kind of quiet some of that noise for you, and we can get right back on track so that you can find the joy in parenting and you can get back to that peaceful place and really parent confidently. So that's what the one-on-one program kind of looks like. It's a 2-month program, a ton of support. I'm with you the whole way. I'm answering personal questions for you. I'm really getting to know who your kids are through you, and really trying to understand their developmental needs, and really educating you on that process of what is it that they need? How can we gain emotional regulation? How can we gain self-regulation for ourselves and teach our kids self-regulation at the same time? Those are really important skills that tend to get lost sometimes in the hustle and bustle of life. So it really is having somebody in your corner and just being able to give yourself that space to say, I just need some support. I think about it in so many ways. Like, we reach out for help in every other aspect of our lives. Like, if we are feeling any kind of way, really, we reach out for support, or we ask for help, or we go to a doctor if we're not feeling good, right? We do all these things. But when it comes to parenting, there's this notion that you just should know what to do. Like, it's a birthright, right? Like, if you have children, you should just get it and you should just know how to show up. And the truth is, it doesn't come naturally for some. And even to those that it comes naturally to, it's still a really arduous task, right? Like, being able to do it well and to meet your child's needs, and to show yourself grace, and to still remember who you are in the absence of role of parent is really important. And I think often those things can get lost. So that's in a nutshell what it looks like, kind of on the surface. But again, if you're interested in more information, specific answers to your questions, wondering how it would look for you, I am completely full right now, but I'm opening brand new spots in January. So I'm taking discovery calls through December and also through January. So if you want to go ahead and book those, feel free to do so. And we can chat a little bit more. And I can, like I said, I can be very transparent with you in terms of what I think you need and what I think might really help. So also in January, something I'm so excited to offer. Again, I've offered it in the past and I just haven't done so this last year, but I'm going to offer group coaching. So the benefit of group coaching, well, there are a couple of things. One is it's a more doable price point. If one-on-one coaching feels too expensive for you, the one-on-one coaching is a higher price point because the support is very different. But a group coaching offers you me. So you get me once a week, and I do it for 4-week increments. So there's 4 sessions over a month, and they're themed. So the first one of 2024 is we're going to tackle gaining cooperation while simultaneously gaining connection with our kids. I think for most parents, we think those two things can't live at the same time. Meaning, if we're gaining cooperation and we're trying to be disciplinarians and we're trying to set boundaries, that usually means our kids are in distress and upset and connection isn't gained and we're not making the gains that we want to see. So often I have to kind of reframe that for parents. And we talk a lot about what is connection, how do we gain connection and cooperation at the same time? What is our child really communicating to us with the certain behaviors? What's the challenge in setting the boundary? What is the right boundary to set? What does it mean when we say follow through and stay consistent, right? Those are all kind of big terms that we hear in the parenting space, but I really walk you through it in a much more specific way. The benefit of group coaching is also that you are surrounded with other parents who are in your shoes, right? They get it. So your question is often somebody else's question, and somebody else's question is often your question. And you're hearing me walk them through it at the same time so that you can take these nuggets of information and go, you know what, that is totally something I could use in my household. I cap the groups at 10, and I do that on purpose because I want to make sure you have enough time with me so I can answer questions, so I can really get to know who you are and who your kiddos are and what those challenges are. And I keep it at 10 because more than that would make it more of like a teaching, a webinar, a workshop, which is great. And I do those too, but that's not the point of the group coaching. The group coaching is really for me to get to know you and for you to feel supported within a group setting. And it's also more accessible from a price point standpoint. So stay tuned for that because more information will come out if it hasn't already. But in January, I'll be doing that again. And I'm really looking forward to the group options. I've done them in the past. I have loved doing them. And I'm really looking forward to some of the things that I have planned for 2024. Just as a little teaser too, I've been asked this numerous times and I am going to do it. And please don't feel like I haven't heard you, but I am going to offer a group probably in March on parents of tweens and teens. This comes up often. I am usually asked all the time if I will do it, and I just haven't been able to carve out enough time to do it yet, but plan on that happening in March. Parents of teens and tweens. We're going to talk a lot about how to connect, how to parent, and how to reparent yourself if you are the parent of a tween or teen right now. And if you're really struggling, it's a completely different set of guidelines and it's a different beast altogether. And I'm really excited to sort of jump into that too. So just stay tuned for that. But I will theme the groups. It will help make it a little more specific. It will also help you understand, is this the right group for me or should I wait a little bit later until we tackle this topic? So, and again, you can message me and ask me, like, do you ever plan on doing a group about and fill in the blank? That's what happened with the teens and tweens. I messaged all the time, literally asked, please do something for teens and tweens. And so this is my way of saying, I heard you, I plan on doing it, and I'm actually really excited to do it as well. With that, though, I do work with parents of teens and tweens in my one-on-one programs. So if that's something that you're really struggling with and you really just need some personalized support and you need those 2 months to really anchor and ground yourself, by all means, reach out. That is something that I can certainly help you with. So for now, those are the two offers in terms of coaching. I will continue to do webinars. Those should stay reasonably priced. I will try to even pepper in a couple of free ones each year. I think it's really important that you can connect with me and that you can ask your questions. So if you haven't already, download my PAR download. It is a 60-minute recording that I did teaching you all about the steps of PAR, which is my process for helping parents move from reactive and overwhelmed to responsive and calm. And PAR stands for pause, acknowledge, respond, reflect. I walk you through those 4 steps, what that looks like in your home. I take questions in that recording, so you'll hear me answer other people's questions. And there's a lot in there, and that's completely free. I really feel like that's one of the most useful tools you could possibly have in terms of just improving your parenting experience on a daily basis. So make sure to grab that or whatever other free resources I have. And I promise I will continue to show up and serve in 2024. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for the most amazing year. You have given me so much great feedback. You guys have been an amazing audience. The audience has grown so much, which I'm so grateful for. I'm humbled. Every day I'm completely humbled. When I look at my podcast numbers, I'm in complete shock some days that people tune in and listen. I started this kind of on a whim because I'm a fan of podcasts myself. And I thought, why don't I just create another way to connect with people and just kind of be in their ear and just give them that support that hopefully they need. And if I've been that to you, it does humble me so much. And I am so incredibly grateful. And again, I'm looking forward to continuing to grow and continuing to meet your needs and serve this amazing, amazing community. So for now, Happy New Year, happy holidays. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you so, so, so much.